we see lots of discussions where people are talking on the meta platform level about, criticizing a Twitter or YouTube when they don't get these components of how it actually works. But they do that with individual creators too. Small ones, medium, big ones. There's the same sort of discomfort with those creators making a buck. And we know that you've got to have something coming in so that you can get the equipment you need. You can pay the people who help you do stuff and make the most of their talents. You've got to have some money in, and the simplest little sponsorship can get a whole lot of comments about like, oh, you sold out for this and that. And we step back from this and think, well, how do you think it works? That this can't just be a thing where creators are doing what they do and never worrying about like paying rent or like getting a better camera or whatever it is. And there's this disconnect between the reality of how it works and how people think it works or think it should work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I think that if we're talking about the broad picture of misunderstanding or lack of understanding around social media platforms, YouTube in particular, and what you're talking about is sort of, I think, the lack of understanding from viewers, where it's almost like there's almost a shame to be had for making a living off of this platform. It's like you see a big time celebrity, a mainstream celebrity endorsement of something, and you accept it as like, yeah, that's the way it works. But you see a YouTuber or social media star and endorse something, it's like, how could you motherfucker? And I reject that so wholly, so squarely. And I said it as someone who is like, I've done really good marketing with companies in the past that I felt great about, and I've screwed up in the past and done stuff that is like, I only recognize afterwards that like I really screwed that one up, and my audience has every right to be pissed off at me for my shortcomings. But so I've been on both sides of that fence, is what I'm saying. But even so, within that, I think that like I've made videos that says it should be celebrated when a creator figures out how to make a living off of their creations. That to me is like is absolutely a benchmark of success. If you can make it through like through college ball, and you get drafted into the NBA, you are celebrated. You are celebrated. If you get signed with Def Jam and you get your album released and you get an advance, you are celebrated. You fucking did it. But on YouTube, if you figure out how to get a Coca-Cola to write you a check because they want to be a part of your content, like you should be ashamed. And I don't know where that comes from, but I think it comes from a place that, again, I also understand and empathize with those individuals critical of that. There's a sense of ownership between your audience and you. Subscribe to you, Kevin. I love what you do. You're my friend. I watch you in your living room. You're not supposed to be making money because you are me and I am you. So I get that. It is that connectedness that enables us to build these audiences, and it's that connectedness that people feel is being compromised when you are, making a living off of that same audience.
Yeah. And I also think it's different depending on potentially what kind of content you make, because you can make, any kind of content on YouTube. That's the beauty of it. But I would say coming from educational content, there's like an extra thick layer of stigma, I think, with making educational content and then also making enough money to make more educational content. It's like, why aren't you just doing this out of the good of your heart because you want the world to learn? And it's like, well, I do, but I also would like to hire an editor so that I can pay that editor to help me make the world learn. There is like a process here to actually creating the content that is educational. It's not just magic.
No, and that's how you get to make more of it. That thing that you like, that you're watching, that you're a big fan of, right? This is what we do so you get even more of that thing that you like. It should be an easy sell, but for whatever reason, it isn't always an easy sell. So, Casey, what do you think could help bridge that disconnect between people's expectations and the realities of how this stuff gets done? Is it even possible?
Yeah, I mean, totally. You know, the mission statement of 368, my company, was just to help creators go pro. And by pro, I mean, I think you're a professional when you make money off of your craft. And I say that because, like, you know, I made videos for 8 years before I made a penny off of my first video. These are pre-YouTube days. So, like, I really believe in that. But I think one way to tackle that, and I found this to be a really effective way, is with a level of transparency with your audience. You know, like the thing that I think I was criticized most for is doing a ad campaign and then not telling my audience that it was the video was an advertisement until the end, and they felt duped and they felt tricked. And I went into it, you know, making it where I was masking the fact that it was a brand deal until the end, because in my head, it was like, my audience will love this. They'll appreciate that because I made a great video. Oh, and by the way, check out this kick-ass brand that enabled this video. That was my naive thinking going into it. And then afterwards, when the audience fucking flipped out on me, I was like, you know what? They're right. I think they were right. I was wrong. And I should have seen that. I should have known that it would have made them feel manipulated. And I was wrong. And then the next brand deal I did was me stopping the video saying, this is a sponsored video and it's sponsored by this company. Thank you, this company. And if it wasn't for that company, I wouldn't be able to make this video. So if it's interesting to you, show them some love because they're enabling creators like me. And my audience was like, okay, he's being honest. I understand the motive here. I understand he's being paid. And now I'm in control. Do I choose to keep watching? Do I choose to interact with this advertiser? Do I choose to, you know, continue to watch Casey? But they're in control. And for me, I found that to be a way. That's a little thing. It doesn't solve the bigger problem. But going into it very, you know, if I'm giving advice to an up-and-coming YouTuber, I'd really recommend that. It's like it's a real, you know, real kind of transparency. I think that Phil DeFranco does it really well. I think H3, they do it really well where it's clear when I'm watching their original content and it's clear when I'm watching an ad, and they let me know why they're working with that brand. And I have an appreciation for that. So there's a curve people have to understand, and that's going to take time. But then there's also a responsibility that's on us to be communicating, you know, the motives, the intention, and the why behind our relationship with the entities that help support what we do.